Going to talk a little bit about messengers from the future today. And I started out this observation with the thought that we are very much in need of help these days. But there's so much more help out there than we know about. We get so much help every minute of the day that it's hard to comprehend. Someone somewhere loves you at any given moment, all the time. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but it's true. The world is literally made of love. And what our adversaries are trying to hide from us is this fact. And what we need more than anything else is to learn to understand and bring to light this crucial fact right now. Some of us have taken some risks in this life. We have come to this earth in a state that is, well, difficult. Some of us have taken some real risks in this life because we've come to this earth with a life story that can look like it's full of pain, confusion, challenges which seem bigger than we can really take on. And some of us have chosen to come as Down syndrome children. Now, I had a brother-in-law who had Down syndrome. So this brother-in-law who had Down syndrome lived to be about 25 years old. He didn't think like the rest of us, and he needed some extra care, but he was the light of the family. It wasn't obvious all the time how he was helping us, although often with his good cheer and perennial optimism, he was a force of, well, we would use balance in the family. But underneath it all, he had something which I would just call a big heart. And with time, I saw what a blessing that was. As we explored in the previous episode, Speeding Up Initiation, more and more of our strongest souls are taking on seeming life experiences, such as a traumatic childhood, in order, by having to overcome the incomplete development of their inner being, to establish powerful capacities and qualities. These qualities are desperately needed today in the years to come. And these sacrifices, with their risks and pain, are the results. When we look at this phenomenon, what we can see is that the times don't only call for charismatic doers, but for those who lead through their transformed souls and the quality of their interactions. On one level, a mentally disabled child who comes into your life, similarly to any challenging person, is making a sacrifice to help you in the deepest way to learn about patience, compassion, and love. With Down syndrome children especially, there is a whole nother level involved. Their physical constitution is only a part of what makes them special and gives them the heart forces that we experience. These are, in fact, some of our strongest and most evolved souls. And while in this incarnation they may be partly here for what they need, may be partly here for the service to their family, such a person may also be a messenger from the future. Because while we seem to be surrounded by intractable differences and strife, a Downs person is like an emissary of the archetype of the future human being, who is able to teach us about unconditional love. So after submerging myself in this picture, I feel a great pain at the very small number of Downs children who want to join us here on Earth. In an excellent article from 2020 in the Atlantic, it was put at about 5%. The universal testing regime has as its purpose what they call selective reproduction. So the idea is that if one has a defective human being in the making, maybe one should just start over. There's even a movement to eliminate Down's syndrome completely, and the argument is that such children have health challenges. They can't work many times and are a burden to their caregivers and to society. Well, I don't think I'd be honest if I didn't say that sounds kind of like eugenics. And for myself, since I've established that these people are far from defective, quite the opposite, my sense is we need more of them, not less. I feel changed, altered by my interactions with the Downs people that I know. And I feel reminded of what's really important, things like kindness. So here we are back to reason, the reasoned argument why defective people should be eliminated. And it feels to me like we're living in two worlds at once. The world of reason and measurement, and the world of personal relationships, of inner growth and evolution. And in the first world, we are a part of the natural environment. The second world, well, we're a part of the human race. So what is the adversary playing at here? What is Ahriman trying to do? Why are we inspired, seemingly, to treat humanity as a stock to be cultivated and improved by external means? Right? Selective reproduction, genetic modification. This is a big question. Overall, hiding from us our true nature is the way the adversary tries to limit our inner development, our inner growth. And that path that we're on is towards universal understanding, compassion, and love. That's what springs from the heart naturally. And when the adversary strengthens in all these different ways this everyday consciousness that is oriented towards seeing the causes of things, the causes of events, of problems, of the way people are here in the physical as either some sort of chance, bad luck, or the result of some physics problem. We lose sight of the causes that are in the world of destiny. Now, if you can see the south violet window, there's a figure at the top with a face on both sides. So he's looking backwards and up into the world that he's come from and back onto all the previous lives. And the process, the great process that has happened, where everything has been processed and digested to form a plan for a new life which will take him the next step. It brings forward all those experiences, and looking down and forward towards the earth, this is the planning, and that planning may have included being born in a specific family as a Down's child. We should assume that there might be sophisticated and complicated and amazing reasons for that kind of choice. Could have been years in the making, possibly centuries. How long does it take to create a new lifetime? And the sense that one can take from this is that the cause of this great arc of destiny is the life, the shared experiences we have, and what we learn from it. And the effect may lie deep in the past, in the weaving of the threads of intention. Now, a couple of questions have come forward here, and one of them is, if Down syndrome individuals are eventually eliminated from future incarnations on Earth, how will that impact the collective evolution of humanity? Well, one option is that there will just be a lot less love in the world. These are some of the kindest, most open-hearted people on the planet. And if we have less or none of them, that avenue, bring that level of love and of compassion into humanity could be closed. We have to assume that would cause something like an end run. There would have to be some other way for this impulse to be realized. Maybe more and more illnesses would appear that would be harder to get rid of. Maybe people would have to take on more challenging destinies in order to get to the goal. So one way or another, we'll get there. It's just the question of how hard we want to make it for ourselves. Because if in the name of, well, let's not say convenience, but a reasoned reasonable argument for making life fit better, we may be doing the opposite. So that's what I would say, is that we should be cautious to remove a beautiful and really relatively painless avenue for introducing this kind of soul power, these kind of heart forces into humanity. Another question: the timeline that you've described, as well as the process of incarnation, I don't know how to make sense of it. Okay. Well, what I would say is that we might not know how this process is going to work. We can't say for sure how much goes into creating an incarnation, creating a life. Could it be easier to create a whole new plan than we worry that it is? Maybe. But it could be the gigantic and majestic process that it seems. So shouldn't we be cautious to think that we know better? Or, let's be more precise, we should be cautious to think that the intellect and the mind is as big as the process of moving from one lifetime to the next. I don't feel big enough to say I know better, and careful investigation, I would say, makes the most sense, rather than just taking up one position or the other. This looks like the last question. What is it that allows a being to be named human? That's a big one too. A being that we could call human is a living being that is striving towards the central archetype of what it means to be human. And this archetype is the greatest of all. It is a being that is able to be completely selfless. When we think of the moments that we're most proud of in our lives, it's probably the time where I decided that I would just have to work an extra job because my child needed violin lessons. Or maybe the time when I had plans to go out and to work and to get a lot of things done and to see my friends, and I stayed home with a sick friend instead and made them some chicken soup. These are small things, but they do point to the same inner quality of selflessness that you can see in Down's children. And that archetype that is so hard to describe comes from the spirit of humankind, which is the teacher of human love and the pure embodiment of universal cosmic love. And as human beings evolve more and more, we will rise to ever higher levels of selflessness, sacrifice, and free giving, to the point ultimately in our evolution when we'll be able to offer up whole parts of our own being, our own life, and our own existence purely for the benefit of other beings. So thanks for sticking with us today and bearing with our technical problems. We'll get those ironed out. Thanks to our dedicated and selfless production team of Gabriel and Amy. Thanks to the Consciousness Soul at Substack that sponsored this event. Wishing you a wonderful second of Advent and a good night.